Before the ghost hunters with their night vision cameras and digital recorders, before the jump scares and dramatic reenactments, there was another kind of investigation. A quieter, more methodical search for answers, conducted not by TV personalities, but by scientists, scholars, and serious researchers. These were the original paranormal investigators, and their forgotten cases are some of the most compelling and baffling in history. Today, we re-pulling back the curtain on a time when the study of the unexplained was unabout ratings, but about a genuine, often skeptical, quest for knowledge. We'll delve into dusty archives and forgotten journals to uncover stories that have been lost to time. These aren't just ghost stories. They are documented accounts of strange events that defied easy explanation. Examined by people who dedicated their lives to separating fact from fiction, let's start with a case that fascinated some of the brightest minds of the early 20th century, the Borley Rectory, dubbed the most haunted house in England. This Victorian mansion was the subject of a massive, years-long investigation by psychic researcher Harry Price. Price wasn't just some amateur enthusiast. He was a controversial but meticulous investigator who brought a scientific approach to his work. He set up observation posts, used state-of-the-art equipment for the time, like remote-controlled cameras and fingerprinting kits, and brought in dozens of independent witnesses to log any strange occurrences. The reports were relentless. Objects moving on their own, mysterious lights, disembodied footsteps, and even strange writings appearing on the walls. One of the most famous phenomena was the phantom nun. Seen wandering the grounds, seemingly searching for something or someone, Price's team documented hundreds of incidents. Skeptics, of course, accused Price of embellishing or even faking evidence. But what makes the Borley Rectory case so enduring is the sheer volume of testimony from credible, dependent observers, people with nothing to gain from lying. Even after the rectory burned down in 1939, reports of strange activity on the site continued for years. It remains a classic example of a location so saturated with unexplained phenomena that it attracted serious, prolonged scientific scrutiny. But let's move across the Atlantic to a very different kind of case, one that involved a living person as the center of the phenomena in the 1960s. A young man in Miami named Julio was at the heart of a poltergeist investigation that baffled parapsychologists. Julio worked in a souvenir warehouse, and wherever he went, chaos followed. Souvenirs would fly off shelves, glass would shatter, and objects would be thrown with incredible force, often narrowly missing people. This wasn't a secret. It happened in front of his coworkers, his boss, and eventually the police. When the owner of the warehouse could find no rational explanation, he called in parapsychologist William G. Roll from the Psychical Research Foundation. Roll, along with a physicist, spent weeks observing Julio. They witnessed events firsthand. They documented objects moving when Julio was in plain sight, with his hands visible and far from the object in question. They ruled out trickery, seismic tremors, and air currents. Even had Julio undergo medical and psychological evaluations, which found him to be a perfectly normal, albeit stressed young man. Roll theorized that Julio was the focus of what he called recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis, or RSPK. Essentially, his built-up emotional tension was being released externally as kinetic energy. The events weren't caused by a ghost, but by Julio's own subconscious mind. The case of the Miami poltergeist became a landmark study in psychokinesis, shifting the focus from external spirits to the untapped and sometimes chaotic power of the human mind itself. Now, let's go back even further, to the late 19th century, and the Society for Psychical Research, or the SPR, in London. This wasn't a fringe group of ghost hunters. It was founded by respected Cambridge scholars, philosophers, and scientists. Their mission was clear: to conduct unbiased scientific investigations into phenomena that modern science was ignoring. They were pioneers, developing methodologies that are still influential today. One of their most famous and thorough investigations was the Census of Hallucinations. This was a massive undertaking. They surveyed over 17,000 people across the UK, Europe, and America, asking a simple question: have you ever, when believing yourself to be completely awake, had a vivid impression of seeing or being touched by a living being or an animate object, or of hearing a voice, which impression was not due to any external physical cause? The results were astonishing. Nearly 10% of people reported having had such an experience. But the SPR didn't stop there. They dug deeper. They discovered a statistically significant correlation between people seeing an apparition of a specific person and that person dying at roughly the same time. These weren't vague feelings. They were specific, detailed visions of loved ones appearing at their moment of death, often miles away. The SPR carefully cross-referenced these accounts with death certificates and witness testimonies, ruling out coincidence wherever possible. They called these crisis apparitions. The sheer weight of the data, collected with such academic rigor, forced even the most hardened skeptics to admit that something was going on that could be easily dismissed. The Census of Hallucinations didn't prove the existence of ghosts, but it provided powerful, statistical evidence that human consciousness might be capable of things we still don't understand, especially during moments of extreme emotional distress or physical transition like death. These historical cases, Borley Rectory, the Miami Poltergeist, the Census of Hallucinations, are just the tip of the iceberg. What connects them is a spirit of genuine inquiry. These researchers weren't seeking fame or trying to create a spooky TV show. They were driven by a fundamental human curiosity about the unknown. They faced ridicule from the mainstream scientific community, yet they persisted, using the tools of their time to document, analyze, and attempt to understand events that defied conventional explanation. Their work reminds us that the line between the known and the unknown is always shifting. What was once considered supernatural is sometimes, eventually, explained by science. Think of meteors, which were once seen as omens from the gods, or ball lightning, a phenomenon reported for centuries but only recently studied and accepted as real by physicists. Perhaps some of the phenomena these early researchers studied will one day be fully understood. Maybe psychokinesis will be explained by a new law of physics, or crisis apparitions will be linked to quantum entanglement. Or maybe some things will always remain a mystery. What these forgotten files truly show us is a different way of looking at the paranormal. Not with blind belief, and not with dismissive skepticism, but with open-minded curiosity. It's about asking questions, gathering evidence, and admitting when we just don't have all the answers. These pioneers of paranormal research laid a foundation of critical thinking and methodical investigation that is often overlooked today. Their legacy is a powerful reminder that the search for truth, wherever it may lead, is one of humanity's noblest pursuits. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the archives of the unexplained. If you found this fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's forgotten mysteries. And let me know in the comments which historical paranormal case you find most compelling. Until next time, stay curious.